Welcome everybody to another edition of TEW 2020 as we're continuing our WCW 2004 series as it's the night after Showdown on the Sun, but we're still in Mexico. But first, before we go through Nitro, just a reminder, again, the link is in the description below or in the Reddit comment if you got this via Reddit, that we got 2003 year-end awards. They'll go through Super Brawl, we'll go over the results as a tape Super Brawl, basically, depending. And, we got some, the Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Women's Wrestler of the Year, Match of the Year, Moment of the Year, Face and heel characters of the year, feud of the year. Here's about putting your favorite wrestler and tag team in WCW, regardless of where they are on the card, your favorite stable, and of course any other comments, suggestions, or criticisms. Again, like I said, the link to the Google form will be in the description or in the Reddit comment or wherever you get this. Just follow that. Vote how you want, and I look forward to seeing how it is. It's been interesting to see the results so far, but let's go on with the actual show. All right, and now it's time for actual Nitro in front of a sold out Arena Mexico. So yeah, that's actually a big thing because I wanted to the reason why I didn't do the pay-per-view at Arena Mexico is even doing this slightly realistically. I know you could talk WCW Turner officials into or whoever pot the money to buy WCW from Turner and this I forget the Fusion Media people, I guess. You could talk them into doing a Nitro at Arena Mexico, which has its if you've seen a recent CMLL show, they're still not that advanced because they don't have to be. But still. So I did the pay-per-view at the more modern new arena, but we're doing Nitro here. But first, before we actually have Nitro, we have the pre-show match where Jason Jet, Jeff Hardy, and Tajiri defeated Noble, Kaz, and Jindrak in 1527 when Jet pinned Jindrak with a crash landing. This gets a 76. Again, probably better than some matches on the show. Tajiri gets a 60, Hardy gets a 78, Jet gets a 66, Jindrak gets a 53, Kaz gets a 67, and Noble gets a 72. And again, just a reminder, if there's any wacky results as far as people's over match ratings, or just performance ratings, remember we're in Mexico, so this is in short based on Mexico overness, which isn't that much different, at least among our main eventers, from US overness, but with some of the newer people, depending on what version of Mexican TV I had known, maybe they had a little less overness in Mexico. But regardless, let's go on with the actual show. So first we have Mike Tenay basically doing a bit of lucha history. So this is Mike Tenay doing basically voiceover of what video we have from early Mexico, pictures of El Santo, maybe a quick clip of one of the El Santo movies, going over Mil Mascaris, his appearance in WCW in the past, then moving on to the modern cruiserweights of Rey Jr., Psychosis, Eddie and Chavo, of course, showing up. We get some Eddie and Chavo from when they were in CMLL and AAA, and so on and so forth, and moving on to the future, maybe some clips of more recent AAA or CMLL action if we can get away with it. We can buy some coverage from them, and basically putting over to tonight's and all this is video of sort of the store stuff of Arena Mexico, and just sort of going over this is basically the equivalent of Madison Square Garden or Korakuen / Budokan, or only more sort of a mecca. And so there's 76 actually, but I put Ray and Eddie as awareness, so there we go. Then we have opening, which gets an 87, as basically the Guerreros with Ray come out to a huge pop in the crowd because it's Eddie Guerrero and Rey Jr. all in Mexico as champions. They're happy to start the show. They speak Spanish enough to keep fans involved, but throwing enough English to not scare off the American audience, or Australian audience, or everybody, basically the non-Spanish audience. They put over, they're happy to be in front of these home Mexican fans in Arena Mexico, the chapel of professional wrestling, and they're proud to walk in here as champions. You never thought you'd see a day where two of the champions in World Championship Wrestling would be would have Mexican heritage, but here we are. And then out comes the Deadpool. They enter proceedings, of course they do. Just prove that Eddie did defeat Vampiro at Showdown on the Sun. And Vampiro basically gets thrown, says deep in your heart, that these Mexican fans still think of you as gringos. 3 gringos running over from Texas and California and taking over the spots of real Mexican professional wrestlers. I may have my face painted, but I admit where I'm from. I admit I'm from the darkness, what you are posing. And ready, fight back says, they've heard the cheers and boos from these crowds, but they've always, they supported them as Latino. Martin R. Clinton last night, the message was not heard correctly. He sort of shoots a look at Vampiro. but tonight we will strike a blow in front of those who you supposedly care about most when we defeat you in the ring once again. As the Unders put over the fact that it's a 2 out of 3 falls match between Vampiro, Eddie, and Chavo versus what's announced as Mesias, the returning Mesias, Vampiro, and Morningstar. This gets an 87. Good stuff. Then we have a quick, basically, we come back, we have our match, which includes Milano Collection AT in his black suit, walking his invisible dog down the ring as, basically, I should probably just put Tanay as the entrance on tonight, but, whatever, I'll pretend he comes in for, like, this stuff, as Tanay basically over, his Tanay, Milano's Collection gimmick, which, and you can, like, look up, basically, he dressed all in black, sort of like a mini Shono, and he walked a dog, and it was very over, and I just signed him as a one-night contract because he's actually decently over. And then we have a 4-way match as in about that terrible wrestling analysis and crowd. Elix Skipper defeated Milano Collection AT, Yang and Sabu 843. And Elix Skipper pinned Milano Collection AT with the overdrive. This gets a 48. Milano had a 61. Yang got a 52. Elix got a 45. Sabu got a 53. Yeah, I mean, none of these guys were. I probably should have thrown somebody who was actually over, but I forgot that even if you're over, you don't count as, like, not unknown. Yeah, okay. I mean, not the end of the world. As the Skipper celebrates, which gets a 36, as he's just put over, he had a tough challenge for the U.S. title last night, and now he has a big one here in a big cruiserweight match. Then we have basically, like, we see video of, like, O'Hare arriving to the arena, pushing back for his officials, and going into, like, sort of backstage area that's all smoky, that is supposed to be, the Deadpool's graveyard, and just goes after Mesias and starts sprawling with him. And it's just a war right from the start as, they go through, Cameron tries to follow them, but first, the officials, then Deadpool tries to block them as they just brawl out of the quote-unquote graveyard back into the more regular arena structure before things get broken up as this gets 79. And yeah, this video is on. And we have a women's match. It's about that terrible wrestling. Ouch. And non-existent crowd heat. Jordan Cole defeated Lexi James in 7-17 by pinfall. This gets a 55. Jordan Cole gets a 50. Lexi James gets a 49. Decent match. Just a win to give Cole because she's had a little bit of cold momentum, so why not give her a win? And then Cole celebrates to a 56. Not the end of the world or anything, but a perfectly solid match to put Cole over, which, did decently. Then we have a really decent promo, really decent stuff. As happens is, Conan comes out, he, does his Riva La Raza, he cuts a Spanish promo for the crowd, which involves, calling out Jonathan Toro and his puta, because, again, this is still 2004. So out comes Toro and Canellis as the bell rings, as they begin brawling. It looks like we have a TV title match. This gets a 57. Good stuff. Just, sort of build up Toro a little bit more. As in the actual match about the decent crowd with Power Wrestling, Jonathan Toro defeated Conan in 650 by pinfall. Toro makes defense number 6 of his World Television title, as this gets a 72, as Conan gets a 70, Toro gets a 56, and yeah, again, this is called, Conan is really over Mexico, so got to bleed a little bit of his overness to Toro on TV. But yeah, big one for, good one for Toro, and of course post-match, because they're evil heels, Swinger, Romeo, and Toro all come down and just beat down on Conan to the boos of the crowd, then walk away as cocky quick heels. And that gets a 46. Decent stuff. And we go backstage with a quick Home Legacy promo. As basically he's, he says he's going to, he could cut a little bit of Spanish and just basically does a little bit of a Spanish promo. Just basically insults the Mexican fans and says, but now he's going to speak English as a world champion should, because it's the language of the world. Ooh, GP, but, he said seriously, all you fans in Mexico should enjoy this day, because by the time World Championship Wrestling is in Mexico again, the greatest United Champion of all time, who pinned last night Goldberg and Sean O'Hare in one match, more booze, will be the World Heavyweight Champion, and both Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. and Chavo Guerrero and Rose Future will be crying and sad because they cannot defeat a superstar like me. Again, more booze, 74, solid promo, again, only 3 minutes. If I look here, yeah, it was limited for being short, so there you go. And then, basically both Liger and Parka come out as crowd puts over, a big match, as this gets to 62. And the match gets a 77. In decent match, Jushin Liger defeats Parka in 10:22 by pinfall with a Liger bomb. This gets a 77. Again, Parka gets a 61. Liger gets an 80. I'm like 90% sure they've had a real match in either New Japan or Mexico. But anyway, like this would be a solid match. Parka could play the sort of heavy, brawling babyface. Like we could fight back, hit a shote, even play a little bit of subtle heel, but eventually, hit, Parka would run into the corner. Liger will hit a quick shote, quick clothesline, pick him up, Liger bomb, 1, 2, 3, big pinfall victory for the new Cruiserweight champion as he wins a non-title match. And this is actually a lot better than I thought. Like, I knew Parka was more over, and Liger was even a little more over, but I didn't expect quite this good. I would put this as a semi-main event, but I knew it was going to be this good. And then post-match, of course, Parka plays his guitar, Liger does a little dance, and then they shake hands and, and hold each other hands up because they're both baby faces. This gets a 64. We move forward as Mesias and O'Hare are continuing to brawl. This time, Mesias actually throws O'Hare through a wall. Probably not a really well-built wall, but still a wall. So the officials, again, go over and try to break him up, which gets an 83. And then, this is actually a pretty good match. Not quite as good as the Liger-Parka match, but good enough that I don't feel bad about it being the semi-main. So, and I also put this over as a match between two teams who didn't have a match at Showdown in the Sun, but they still want to get back to the top of the tag team title rankings. So both had good wrestling and decent action in the crowd. Americans was want to get the big victory, beating Air Raid in 12:46 when Chris Harris pinned Air Paris with a catatonic. A back and forth, actually mostly clean match. Like Harrison's turned to a little bit of heel cheating, but at the end, AJ Styles, basically goes for one of his big wacky dives, but basically eats it on the outside. That allows Harrison Storm to team up, and then in the end, Harris hits the catatonic and gets a pinfall victory over Air Paris right in the middle. AJ Styles gets an 85 because he's awesome. Air Paris gets a 76. James Storm gets a 68. Chris Harris gets a 65. And post-match, A&W Celebrating get a 69. Now I believe it is main event time. Yes, okay. So, first of all, this gets an 89, which is freaking awesome. But basically what happens here is, this is just, any great 2 out of 3 falls, sort of not modern, go back and find one of the great, Gringos Locos matches, or any great, CMLL 6-man main event, and this was this, basically modified a little bit for American taste, but and Ray go after each other. Ray and Vampiro have some spots. Morning Star goes after Ray, of course. Chavo gets some, heat on Parka. But basically, what happens here is, is in the first fall, Morningstar actually hits the pinfall victory over Rey Mysterio Jr. with the Angel's Wings right in the middle after sort of a train dive. Gets a big pinfall victory, but real quick, because that's how Lucha usually works. Eddie fights back and is able to actually hit the Blue Thunder Bomb and goes up top, hits Frog Splash on Vampiro to get the pinfall back to tie things up, and that's a huge back and forth style fighting, hot finishes, big moves. Vampiro hits the nail in the coffin on Ray, but Eddie makes a save that allows but Chavo makes a save that allows Ray to come in and hit the Mysterio Rana on Vampiro, but then Lestat makes a save and everything breaks down to a huge six-way brawl. And at the end, Chavo's able to slip in, hit the Brainbuster on Lestat and get the 1, 2, 3. 89 for the match itself. Ray gets a 90, Eddie gets a 90, Chavo gets an 82, Lestat gets a 67. Morningstar gets an 84, Vampiro gets an 84, showing rare professionalism and clear on Happy Lestat, completely phony performance. Okay. And yeah, good stuff. And yeah, 89, which is just a really good match. And then post-match to end things, basically, Eddie, Ray, and Chavo all celebrate with the Mexican crowd. As the announcers put over, what a night this is in basically the Cathedral of Mexican Wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Jr. are champions. Chavo is with them, and they're celebrating with their fans. 86, yeah, and again, this isn't quite an out of continuity show, but it's basically a show where we couldn't quite jump to our our Super Brawl feuds. I did because honestly, again, it wouldn't be I'm sure I could have thrown in these these three versus three people from Helm's Legacy, and it would have been almost as good. But like, you know, Vampiro was actually a huge star in Mexico for a while. And since he's been sort of a top guy, I sort of like, and this is, I mean, this is basically the blow off to the Eddie Vamp feud. Like, Eddie arrived, got his win over Halloween Havoc, got his win, held the title through Stargate, got the win at Showdown Sun, and now he's pinned him again. And now Deadpool sort of move on to their next thing, involving mostly O'Hare and Palumbo because of what they did at Showdown Sun. Eddie moves on to his world title feud with Helms. Ray, whoever's the next man to get the US title shot, and Chavo is Chavo. And then we finished the show to an 84, so actually a pretty good show. Like, I was kind of worried at the beginning there, after what happened with the wackiness of like the lower card stuff, but still, good, really good stuff. And yeah, next week on Nitro, of course, we'll actually get Vamp. We'll actually get probably the tag champs, talking the fallout from Booker turning on RVD, what's happening with Goldberg, and everything else. So let's look at Raw real quick. Let's see here. We had Jerry Lynn defeating Spike and Rikishi and Saturn defeating Funaki and Crash. Brock Lesnar got an opportunity in short-term Brock Brawl with Shawn Michaels. Kane defeating Matt Classic. Undertaker won a squash. Regal, Steven Richards, and Scott Hall defeating Kevin Nash and Sexy. Chris Jericho defeating Randy Orton by counting in 93. And of course, as always, what's happened here. Angle defeating Valvines by Hugh in 98. Michaels defeating Raven and Tails match in 100. And Triple H and Brock defeated Show and Austin in 98. Because of course they did. Let's see here. Any other news? Gaia had a match. Independent Wrestling with Rochester. Okay, I mean, nothing that interesting. Just lots of random matches from people. News-wise, some hirings. The stuff that you guys have seen? No, okay. Okay, yeah. No, you guys don't see it. This is a quick thing. I don't know if I showed this on Sunday, but I just wanted to show it real quick, just in case. So basically, this was the last Saturday night before the pay-per-view. So Miss Jones calls out to Heart Legacy after what they did at the last Saturday night, which is basically like, save Urs Miller. Natty came out with them as two. Evans able to defeat Blitzkrieg in a squash. We had Showdown in the Sherman Control Center. Cash defeating Tajiri in a 58. Then Cash and Amber made out. Natty and Hart defeating Annie Social in a 20. Natty and Ernest danced to a 25. Toro had a promo. Hart and Legacy defeated Ginger Stasiak in the main event, and then Hart Legacy and Natty celebrated. And then the post-show, Scott Steiner and Arrow defeated Kidman, Storm, and Awesome. So yeah, there we go. Just wanted to throw that in, just because I don't totally remember if I actually showed that before Super Bowl. I probably did. I mean, before Showdown in the Sun. But yeah, one other thing which I also didn't mention to you guys is, also, Morningstar, I think, moving as a natural star. Okay, Vanessa's Harding contract is running out, and so is Madison Sinclair. I'll check those out. Another thing is we had a merchandise upgrade, so that's good. And if you look at our merch, yeah, it's going, like, yeah. I mean, this is the big one, is Goldberg was at 1.5 for the whole month. And this month we're almost done, and Goldberg is up to 1.8. And yeah, fun times. I think that's it. I mean, let's look at our storylines real quick. So Booker already is still our hottest. Yeah, Eddie and Shane is down to 91 after what happened. But I mean, that was unnaturally high after our main big main event. And yeah, everything else is pretty solid. Again, like not our not our hottest Nitro or anything like that, but especially because like I didn't have much promos to go over or anything else like that. Just mainly because of the basically because it was Mexico. So like like again, if we go to here and go to like people who can speak passable Spanish, so if you do Spanish, like basically the whole roster can speak some form of Spanish. But like again, it would be silly, like because again, on the one hand, I didn't just want people who would passable Spanish, because in real life, what happens is when Raw goes to Mexico, it's just everybody speaks English, because people going there who can pay the WWE ticket prices are, of course, most people who can, just for people who can speak English and such. But I wanted to put this as more of like a more real thing, even though it probably wouldn't be. But yeah, I don't know. Just one of those weird things where I wanted to set things up. But regardless, no Next week will begin the real push towards Super Bowl, including Eddie versus Shane held for the world title. Of course, Mesias and Shadow Hair seems like they're now feuding after Mesias easily cost Shadow Hair the number one contendership. Morningstar and Hombo, are probably not liking each other as well. Jet and London defeated Jarrett and Doug at the pay-per-view, so they now look like they'll get the next tag title shot. Goldberg, of course, probably isn't happy with people after getting attacked at the start of the six-way elimination match. And, you always have fun stuff like the Fact Horsemen, or arguing after Jarrett Douglas lost at the pay-per-view. And Kanan also lost the pay-per-view. So, they'll just have to figure out some way to get their things back on track. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this. And again, follow the link to do the Urine Awards. But outside of that, we're done for now. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like. Comment below on what you're enjoying and not enjoying. And subscribe to your channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this series, my WCW 1993 series with Eric Bischoff, which is now 1994, my MLW 2005 series, and my WCW 2013 series with a lot of things being determined by Roman number generation. But that's it for now, so talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.